Hey there, how's it going? A long time ago, several years ago, possibly a decade ago, I'm not sure, a guy named Gonadic.io, who was a friend of the channel. You might know him as the guy who invented the Domingler, which is the program that we use to merge mods together in Dominions. He started a thread over on the Something Awful forums, where he was doing a text-based Let's Play of Dominions. And I thought I'd plug it because it's finally finished. And not only has it finished, it's been moved into the LP archive. You can go and read it over there if you want. I figured if you're the kind of person who likes watching Dominions, you might like reading it too. The reason I want to plug it is because it's a mod nation game, and the nation that he was playing as is Kirkistaculus, which some, or perhaps none of you, will know is the first mod nation I ever made. It's the Clown Nation. And that thread, if I just check, let's see. That thread, since it was posted, has had 157,323 views. So it's very possible that he has exposed Clown Nation to more people than, well, than I ever did, that's for sure. So I thought he deserved a bit of a shout out for that. So go check out the thread if you want to. A long time ago someone said to me that if the thread ever actually finishes, I should do a dramatic reading of it. I am not going to do a dramatic reading of it. But I might look through a few pages of it. Yeah, so I thought I'll go through the thread. I'll read the first couple of pages, and if you want to check out the rest of it, I'll put the link to it. But yeah, I just wanted to go through it because it's cool to see someone actually playing my mod nations. In Dominions, there's a weird thing where like modding is really easy and it's really fun, but the problem is unless you make like a giant total conversion mod pack, no one cares. It's kind of the sad thing. Like unless you are, you know, Dominions Enhanced or the Ether guys one, or you know those like big packs that everyone plays, then no one really cares because it's so hard to like plug small standalone mods into like bigger thing. I think that's why I like the Domingler so much, because it means people might actually play smaller mods. Yeah, so it's always really cool to see someone playing them, and it's really cool to see. I really like the fact that people can play like just completely mixed mod nation games now. I really think it's cool. Anyway, let's see if I can bring up the Let's Play archive in OBS. Yeah, that looks like it's capturing. Alright, here we are. So this is on the LP archive. Dominions 5 by Gonadic.io. Turn 1. Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar, God of Kirkistaculus. In the beginning there was chaos, now the realist turn once again. This is the map that this game used as well. It looks super weird. It's really kind of hard to follow sometimes, but it's a really interesting looking map. In the beginning there was chaos, now the wheel has turned once again. I don't think I've ever actually read these messages, even though I've seen them probably 100 times. Note also the map in the background, which is not the usual fur, that's true. We are the nation of Kirkistaculus, an ancient society of noble clowns. Hey, I never called them noble. So this is Kirkistaculus. Kirkistaculus is a vibrant and colourful nation, populated predominantly by humans, but ruled by powerful clowns. Clowns are long-lived creatures who, with the passing of eons, can grow to tremendous sizes. They are primarily interested in the study of comedy, a concept which has immense significance both culturally and theologically. For many years, these clowns have been content to study comedy at their own pace. Now, with the disappearance of the Pantocrator, an opportunity has arisen for a great comedian to ascend to godhood and perpetrate the greatest joke of all. This fact has given clown culture a sense of urgent focus, as not only must they decisively seize divinity, but their greatest minds must also come together to settle the question of what the greatest joke of all actually is. There we are. Humans, clowns of various sizes, blah blah blah. There's your troops. So yeah, this is the first mod nation I ever made. I basically made it to teach myself how to make mods. And it was based on Iram, which is a nation made by Boing. Who, yeah, I basically took his DM file and deleted all the bits and just based my nation on that. And that was my sort of starting point, that and the manual. And I've very gradually went through all this stuff. Boing gave me a really interesting piece of advice, which he said, before you make the nation, make all of the sprites first. And so that's what I did. I got up the Wikipedia page for list of circus acts, and then and just came up with all the commands and just made a bunch of random sprites. And then I came up with a bunch of just names of clowns that I thought would be funny, like Enormous Clown and Impossible Clown. And then just made, I think I downloaded stock photos off Google of clowns and then just recolored them. The clowns are led by the peerless pretender Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar. So this is this is another mod that got added into this game that expanded the pretenders you could use. So this is like another mod on top of the other mods to add some extra pretenders, which is cool. But this is not a clown pretender. So I'm going to use the powers of live production to insert an image of a clown pretender over, and we can pretend that there's a clown pretender in this nation. This is the best clown pretender, which is the shiny red nose. This shiny red nose was originally worshipped as a joke. Ancient clowns would pretend that the shiny red nose had divine powers in order to trick other clowns into worshipping it as part of an elaborate prank. Most clowns would catch on to the ruse quickly, and then begin tricking their own juniors into worshipping it, thus perpetuating the gag. Occasionally there would be a clown who worshipped it for decades or even centuries without ever catching on, and their firm belief in the shiny red nose was a source of endless amusement for those in on the joke. With the disappearance of the Pantocrator, some ancient clowns have detected genuine power radiating from this shiny red nose, but are far too nervous to admit it or even believe it, for fear of being the butt of a more elaborate version of the same old joke. Those few who are willing to admit their genuine belief in the shiny red nose obviously have trouble convincing anyone of their earnestness, because the vast majority of clowns have heard the joke before. By now, the exact truth of the shiny red nose is a deeply confusing issue, with some people worshipping it without knowing it to be a joke, some worshipping it because they know it's a joke, some worshipping it who knew it was a joke but now believe it to have genuine power, and a final group who know that it was a joke and think that this new wave of belief in the shiny red nose is also a joke, but worship it to perpetuate that joke. Nobody is really sure who believes what, or whether it is a prank or not, but one thing is certain: someone, or something, is acting through this shiny red nose. This reminds me, actually, I always meant to rewrite the last part of this description. It's just so loose. It would be funnier if it's like, it'd be funnier if it ends with like, nobody is really sure who believes what, but one thing is certain, and then you just say a bunch of really meandering vague stuff. Like, one thing is certain, someone or something is probably doing something involving the nose, maybe, or maybe they're not, I don't know. Like, something like that would be more funny, I guess. I don't know, it's something, it needs tightening up, whatever. Anyway, point is, there's better pretender. Let's remove that. Right, let's carry on. It starts in prison, so it won't be available until about year 3 in game. Until then, we'll have to rely on its non-incarnate blesses, which is all of them. Yeah, that is a big bless. There's a lot of magic as well. Fire 4, Earth 4, Astral 8, Nature 4, Blood 6. Yeah. So until then, we'll have to run its non-incarnate blesses, which is all of them. Joaquin Phoenix's Oscar makes my clown troops absolute powerhouses, dealing massive amounts of damage, with a good amount of HP and ability to survive magical retribution. I guess. I'll be explaining the units as I recruit them, because there's too many to show all at once. To explain my pretender choice, let's look at my first recruit, the Enormous Clown. Yeah, these are cap-only sacreds. They're very tough, but like the big weakness of this nation in the general case is that they have almost no protection ever. And also no shields either. There's only one unit that gets a shield. Clowns are a strange and exceptionally long-lived race of creatures primarily interested in clowning and comedy. Clowns who live for extremely long periods of time can grow to be absolutely enormous, becoming known as enormous clowns on account of their enormity. Some clowns who reach this age dedicate their time to the serious study of comedy, while the rest will simply content themselves with clowning around. Enormous clowns make enormous honking noises, throw enormous pies, and tell enormous jokes. As a direct consequence of their increased size, they are significantly funnier than ordinary clowns. Sure, a joke told by a clown will be funny, but a joke told by a 6-meter tall clown holding a pie the size of a wagon? No contest. All clowns are sacred to the people of Kokistaculus, and enormous clowns are no exception. So there we go. They, like all clowns, have chaos power, so will get stronger in Turmoil Dominion and weaker in Order. They have 20 strength, base, but with the +3 strength from Larger, +4 from the Blood Bless, and +3 from Chaos Power, they can get to 30 strength even before unit experience. Their weapons are a kick, which deals double damage to enemies that are smaller than the clown, comically large kick, and a rubber hose, which has 2 attacks and deals untyped damage, so is hard to resist. Yes. The rubber hose is very long as well. And it gets a penalty to damage and a penalty to attack. You also can't repel with a rubber hose. I don't know if that's relevant though when you've got a big kick. Also, a 20 plus damage pie that will totally one-shot a human, but is generally only used when closing in. Yeah, it's pretty short range. They are cap only, meaning I will only be able to get between 4 to 7 of them a turn, and I will absolutely be getting the maximum number of them every turn I can. Sadly, this turn I can only afford 2. They're pretty expensive, 80 gold, 31 rec points. The rest of my bless is to help keep them relevant in the late game with fire and magic resistances, magic weapons, and low light vision. Additionally, my bless was tailored to deal with a certain other nation that's pretty hard to fight, but we'll get to them later. They're a solid nation that can stonewall you if you haven't preferred or are having a rocky start. They're a rock nation. My mage recruit this turn is a 13th clown. Here we go. These are the smallest of the clown mages you can recruit. Once a clown has mastered the clown arts, he may choose to study comedy itself, becoming either a first clown or a 13th clown. First and 13th clowns are hierarchically equal, but fulfill very different roles in both clowning routines and society in general. The interplay between 1st and 13th clowns is impossible to ever understand fully, or even partially, owing to clowning's chaotic, nonsensical, and often contradictory styles of pedagogy. Humans tend to consider the relationship using the rule of the pie. If a clown throws a pie at another clown, it is always thrown by a first clown and always hits a 13th clown. While this simple dictum misses much of the rich nuance found in the relationship between 1st and 13th clowns, it does provide a simple basis for understanding. This bit about impossible to understand fully or even partially is basically the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for writing shitty law that doesn't make sense. Always good to throw that one in. 13 clowns are lovable underdogs in displays of clowning, acting as the comical victim of mischief rather than the direct perpetrator of mischief. While 13th clowns are encouraged to play unlucky or unfortunate characters, they must always be funny, and must not allow themselves to become tragic characters, as tragic clowning has been forbidden. They tend to utilize water magic to aid them in managing the huge amounts of pie cream and seltzer water that is frequently blasted their way. Their devotion to the formal study of comedy grants them significant priestly authority, but they do not typically lead performances, and are poor leaders as a result. All clowns are sacred to the people of Kirkistaculus, and 13th clowns are no exception. Throughout the mod, sacredness and holiness and priest levels are basically stand-in for how funny you are. And holy levels in particular are a stand-in for how learned you are in the formal study of comedy. So that's the... if you're wondering. These guys are good mages with a random path being one of Fire, Water, Astral. Not a great leader, but not too expensive gold-wise. The leadership 10. Costing 3 commander points, which is a huge joke on the player. When I only get 2 per turn, is a bit painful. And they're also cap only, at least until later on. The main reason I'm choosing this guy for my expansion armies is the Clown National spell, Coordinate Slapstick Display, which gives a good amount of invulnerability in a decent area. Without it, you tend to take too much attrition when expanding, even with the insanely killy enormous clowns. With it, however, they have very strong expansion. There are plenty of other national spells, but we won't see them for a bit. The nation gets 3 holy spells that are cross-pathed with Water, Astral, and Earth. And they're just to help you expand. Coordinate Slapstick is the water one, which gives you invuln. There's an astral one, which is Coordinate Miming Display, I think, which gives you Protective Force. And there's Coordinate Magic Display, which is the air one, which gives you Mirror Image. So this is Coordinate Slapstick Display. A comedian may employ this technique to assist a group of performers in enacting a group display of slapstick comedy, even if those performers wouldn't otherwise be capable of slapstick. The comedian reminds performers to stretch, stay limber, roll with any blows or strikes, and to always land on the floor in the funniest way possible. Any performer undergoing this preparation will be able to sustain blows from pies, hammers, and enormous planks of wood, far more grace and far fewer injuries, though appearances will be very much to the contrary. The effect will persist until the end of combat. Finally, we profit our starting commander, so intense in his cuckoo hostility. Come on, dude, don't overdo it. I won't spend too much time on these guys because they're not clowns, and we'll basically never recruit them anymore unless we really need some leadership. Let's end the turn having a quick look around us. What a beautiful map. Can't tell what the fuck is going on, but it's a beautiful map. Not a bad start at all. We're on the bottom edge of the map and have some nice room to maneuver around. Okay. There's 4 thrones, northwest underwater caves. Yes. Okay. This one? Oh, there's one. There's one as well. Okay. It could be within easy reach, although we don't have any underwater capacity. And we're also 2 provinces away from a small candle. Is this one, I guess? Or... I have no idea. These are important because they connect to large candles spaced outside the map proper. Oh, I guess this is a large candle. Where's the small candle? 2 moves away from a small candle. Am I blind? Unlike the other games you may have seen, this map is not wraparound at all. That sounds awful. Pot 2. Time for traditional turn 2 ritual, picking apart prophet names. This also gives us a chance to peek at what each of the other nations and their starting commanders are like. Or at least most of them. Yeah, let's get these guys. Send in the clowns. Here we go. A proclamation from Kirkistaculus. Yeah. Finally, this is us. I don't know if anyone else looked up the titles like this, but I always show blood, astral, earth, and nature magic with luck and terminal skills. Maybe it's just because I know my own bless, but they seem way more revealing than anybody else's. I suppose that blood surge and regeneration would be another valid blood nature bless, but either way, it's obvious that I've gone for a pretty heavy bless. Okay. Lion Tamer is your starting commander. They are pretty mundane, but they get Beastmaster as a bonus. Lion Tamers are humans who delight crowds by carrying animals using items wholly inappropriate for the task. Tree branches, potted plants, wooden stools, wet rags, handfuls of spices, and other smaller animals are all frequently used by Lion Tamers during their performances, often to unexpectedly good effect. Clowns have a great deal of respect for successful Lion Tamers and have steered the profession away from recklessness in recent years. While the popular adage, the best Lion Tamers rile the scariest animals with the stupidest tools, is still ultimately very true, Lion Tamers are discouraged from taking truly dangerous risks. Injuries only spoil the show, bringing the whole profession into disrepute. Lion Tamers are center stage entertainers capable of leading sizable performances and are especially good at leading animals. They have a whip and a wooden stool. I guess technically these guys have a shield as well, but they're a commander so they don't count. Right, as for my actual turn, there's not a massive amount to say. Speaking of which, here's a mime. How did you not segue that guy? Come on. My scout, or mime rather, is heading east since the area is a bit tighter and I'd like to secure some choke points and prepare for neighbours ASAP. Mimes, of course, start with a mute affliction, which halves their magic skills. Normally this doesn't matter, but let's just say that in a test game, I found out the hard way that you shouldn't make one your prophet. Yeah, all mimes are mute, but they are your scout. Although true mastery of the clown arts is beyond even the most skillful of humans, some men and women still manage to become successful in specific areas. Mimes are humans who have mastered one of the basic arts of rudimentary clowning, mime. They must never speak and entertain people through their use of bold and deliberate body motions, acting out impossible scenarios such as picking up an invisible box, being trapped inside of an invisible box, and trying to push an extremely heavy and invisible box. Mimes are lightly armoured and stealthy. They wield an invisible box, an imaginary weapon, the effectiveness of which is directly proportional to the confidence of the mime. Yeah. Invisible box is an MR negates magic damage spell, magic damage attack that you're immune to if you're mindless, because you don't have an imagination. There we go. Looking around, there's a lizard province. Yes. Grievel's Bog, across a mountain from my cat, which is an extremely nice source of nature astral mages, but they can be a bit annoying to expand into. Province my prophet and starting army is going to take, though, is Plains of the Blood Turkey. Somehow has an very strong 144 income. Nice. This is pretty important because with my scales and expensive large adult sons, I'm going to be hurting for gold for most of the game. There's a lot of troops there, but these amphibious independents are notoriously poor quality. So while I'm a bit worried, I take the gamble. I hope it goes well. Yeah, shamblers. They're just regular shamblers and militias. My expansion force is still not ready due to the 3 commander point mages I've previously mentioned. Since you get 2 commander points per turn, I could queue up another mage this turn with the leftover point, but I don't have the money, so all of my clown mages are effectively 4 commander points for now. I can afford, however, 3 more giant clowns, giving me a total of 5 next turn, which is an effective force of expanders. I still have absolutely no research. Yeah, this is otherwise known as the Mew approach. Also, I forgot to mention it last term, but the first mercenaries were the shipwreckers, aka the best early mercenaries, and they're always heavily contested. Since I absolutely could not afford to place a bid on them myself, I settled for pointing them out in chat in hopes of driving the price up. What is this, like, god level high IQ play, dude. What the fuck? And they went to Edgeludnor in the end. All in all, I'm pretty happy with this start. Do people think has the best proper... Who cares? There we go. I'll do one more page, why not? There's a lot of troops, but these amphibious independents are notorious poor quality, yeah. Let's watch as I lose my starting army and I'm put out of the game instantly. Unlikely. These are my brave boys, 20 unicyclists. These are your best expanding blockers, I think, because they have a shield. And very high defense as well. 7 protection is like the best you get on any unit in the station, because they have terrible body armor. Unicyclists are humans who entertain the public by riding silly-looking single-wheeled vehicles. Despite appearances, unicycles are surprisingly easy to maintain balance with, provided of course that the unicyclist is sufficiently well trained. In Cocosaculus, proficient unicyclists will take part in jousting tournaments, which serve to make mockery of the jousting events held by knights of neighbouring nations. These jousting tournaments consist of hero unicyclists and villain unicyclists, where rivalries are made, relationships are formed, and redemptions are earned. The whole thing is an elaborately staged kayfabe, of course, full of ridiculous gimmicks and fictional feuds, but the public tend to get swept up in the drama, and great unicyclists go on to be genuine cultural icons all the same. They're professional wrestlers, basically. And 20 jugglers. Jugglers are another good unit for expanding. Although true mastery of the clown art is beyond even the most skillful of humans, some men and women still manage to become successful in specific areas. Jugglers are humans who have mastered one of the basic arts of rudimentary clowning, juggling. These guys have the best sprite I've ever made, by the way. The jugglers of Cocosaculus are a deeply competitive lot, as juggling tends to be a popular profession, and a juggler who can juggle 8 objects will always upstage a juggler who can only juggle 7. Very true. This has pushed jugglers onto greater and greater extremes, with the very best jugglers now able to juggle 12 eggs, 3 broadswords, 2 chickens, a dog, a monkey, 3 skeins of ale, and an illustrated guide, and an illustrated copy of the Beginner's Guide to Juggling, all while blindfolded and with one hand tied behind their back. This puts them almost on par with clans Paramount. Nobody juggles quite as well as the ancient clans, however, who are the only creatures capable of zero-handed juggling. Traditional jugglers will juggle about 5 juggling clubs, which double as actual clubs, given that they are actual clubs. Yeah. Look at this great sprite. Look at this just amazing detail of these jugglers actually juggling. Just incredible stuff. Note their universally low protection, and this is not the force that will have the invulnerability buff. Thanks to my awesome scripting, the unicyclists charge far ahead of the jugglers and fight the enemy force without backup. And the enemy force then routs instantly, and I take 0 casualties. Those amphibian independent troops are bad. Maxing out my luck skills is already paying off as I get my first hero this turn. This is a 6% chance per turn with luck 3, I believe. The Emerald Impaler, the world champion, is a fantastic leader, providing a +7 bonus to morale to units under him, and gets ore and a pretty big 19 defense. And more interestingly, he starts with a heroic ability, in this case strength, but isn't allowed into the Hall of Fame proper. The committee is biased against professional jousting and keeps saying that it's not a real sport. Yep, he's a unique hero unicyclist. He comes with a world championship title belt, which gives him a bunch of buffs, and he already has a huge inspirational value anyway. He's a brilliant leader in the beginning. What is there to say about the Emerald Impaler that hasn't been said 100 times already? Youngest ever unicyclist to compete in the U-turn, and youngest ever champion of the U-turn main event, 3-time first place finisher at the National Unicycle League's annual pole position race event, holder of both the National Unijoust Federation Heavyweight Championship title and the World Unijoust Federation Heavyweight Championship title. The Emerald Impaler ended the absurd 22 win streak held by Spin Doctor on the same day he jousted against then world title holder Bacon O'Reilly and beat him too. A perennial fan favourite, the Emerald Impaler is one of the most electrifying men to ever climb onto the ring. Who can forget when he dislocated his shoulder and still managed to perform a spinning pike slam on Dr. Badwheel at Joust Bang 56? His unbelievable 6-second victory over Tired Eyes at Wheelmania 57. Everybody knows the Emerald Impaler. Everybody loves the Emerald Impaler. Sure, plenty of people will tell you that jousting is fake, but how many of them would say that to the Emerald Impaler's face? You, tough guy? You? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. I didn't think so. Oh yeah. In terms of movement, the starting expansion force is moving further east, to try and secure more land. Where's the map? and the Emerald Pillar is joining them. Not one of them will rout and risk looking weak in front of him. I guess my clan force is moving onto the farmland to the east, scripted to buff with both Bless and Invulnerability. By far the weakest part of this force is Candy the Clown leading them, as he's much more fragile than the size 5 clans alongside him. As such, he's just tucked right into the corner, and they're positioned to try and minimize the chance that somebody will zoom past him and take him out. Just a beautiful piece of foreshadowing. Yeah. In terms of recruitment, my other scales are also coming into effect, which means I can recruit another 13th clown, and a grand total of one giant clown. One! Part of why I'm going for the farm province instead of the lizards is that I just absolutely need the cash ASAP. The lizard province will start producing nature mages after I get a lab and a temple up, so that's a further away concern. Looking at the map, what's this? Ooh. That's the flag of Fenriscandia, the Norse troll nation. I'll do a follow-up post with more details, but their scariest troops are limited recruitment, so I'm willing to risk a bump with them at this stage. They seem like an okay nation to have as a neighbour. Certainly the Dominion doesn't spread shit. Their trolls can be a bit scary, but I can get a lot more giant clowns than they have trolls at this stage, and I'm not at all worried about their human troops. Later on, they get access to the classic combo of Foul Vapors and Horde of Skeletons, which is going to be very annoying to fight. I am not planning to rush them or anything, but I start giving serious thought to them being my first war. If I can kill them before the combo gets online, it'll be a lot easier. So if you're interested in continuing with that thread, I'll put the link to that in the description underneath the video. Go and check it out. And thanks for watching this. And goodbye.